Okay, we're gonna do some seed starting. And you're gonna see a mess behind me because, oh well, real life. I'm gonna do this principle is gonna work for basically any seed that you ever want to start, ever. I'm doing just some random herbs, different companies like Walmart brand, Burpee brand. My favorite comes from Hoss, HOSS Tools. Those are my favorite. Their germination rate is like awesome. But with these, obviously, I'm zone 7A in Virginia. So for us, usually you don't want to start seeds too soon in your season because the plants will get too big. Even using grow lights like we do, your plants will get too big in your cells. And I've already got like a tray set up here with the little cells and some seed start mix. They'll get too big. They'll go root bound, and when the roots hit an obstacle, like the edge of your little cups in your tray, they think, oh, I'm done growing. And you're not going to get maximum out of your plant, basically. So, long story short, they're going to outgrow your tray. You're still going to be getting frost outside, or it'll be the wrong time of the year. Read your seed packets. You can baby them along. You can up pot. Like, these are tiny sales. These are probably some of the smallest sales. These are not my favorite. Again, I'm only doing some kitchen herbs, which are probably going to live their whole lives inside anyway. And they'll up pot into like pretty planters or pretty pots for your kitchen, something like that. But up potting is like, let's say I had a oops, or it's all I had to work with, and I started like saying April or March or April, I started some tomato seeds to go outside. This is probably way too small, but as soon as the tomatoes got a few inches tall and like their first true set of leaves, I would up pot them into something like this. And you can get these off of Amazon. I think these are 2.5 inch pot, or what they call them, are 2.75. They're just little nursery pots, and they're singles. But you see how deep compared to my hand, how much deeper and bigger that cell is compared to this. I mean, come on. Massive. So something that is going to stay inside for a minute, or if we have late frost that just wouldn't stop like last year, I would start something like tomatoes in this, or basil if you're going to let it get really big before you have somewhere else to put it. If you're going to plant it outside, basil, absolutely. Herbs, absolutely. You can put them outside. I would start our fast growers like that. Cucumber, squashes, big germinated seeds right off the bat. Think about the size of the seed that you're growing, and like squash seeds and watermelon seeds. Those are big seeds. So, they're going to be big plants when they first start growing. But again, tomato plants will probably be like the exception to that. Tomato seeds, are tiny. So you would think, oh, I can put them in a tiny cell. Yeah, you could, but you're going to have to up pot them pretty quick. So you can get, I don't have one in here with me, they're outside. You can get bigger like the 4 packs. Okay, something like that. The reason you don't go starting a bunch of seeds in cups like this, number one, it's a lot of soil. It's a lot of seed start mix that you're putting in here. It's a lot of space. You might not have a lot of space to work with. And it could all be for nothing, because your good companies like Hoss Tools, like I said, has germination rates, and most of their stuff is high 90%. I would probably roll the dice if you go buy Hoss Tool seeds, you start 1 seed per cup or 2 seeds per cup. Go for it. I would almost trust that and not feel like I was wasting. I would not, and I'm not knocking off, because I've used them for years and I still do to this day, like your store-bought or big box seed packets. Germination rate, it's hit or miss, and they do not put on the back of the packet their germination percentage. Something else real quick on seeds: don't throw your seeds away every year. Do not. I've got some seeds over here, like this packet right here, 2019. That's kind of like a the company says sell it by that date. There are gardeners that have seeds that are 50 years old. They have brought back almost from extinction tomato plants that were 100-year-old seeds. If you store them properly, that means, like I store mine in individual, like these are just my onions. These are like the little photo cases. I got this off Amazon. I know Michael's, Hobby Lobby, places like that have one, but it's for your photo storage. And seeds fit perfect in here. So I put them in here, and then I put them in a bigger black Rubbermaid tote, okay, or Sterilite tote, whatever brand of tote you use. But they're black, so sunlight can't get in there, and I keep it out of the sunlight. So it's on a shelf or put it in a closet, under your bed, but it's airtight, watertight, sunlight tight, and I'm still germinating seeds like crazy, okay, off of old store-bought seeds because I take care of them. Don't throw them away. Seeds are a hot commodity, and they're expensive sometimes. If you're just throwing them away, right? Like, that's a waste. If you hear the crackling and popping, I've got like some plastic on my counter just so I can roll all this up and fix dinner after I fix this video real quick. But let's just start at the beginning, right? So let's just say I'm going to do my favorites. I'm gonna do everybody's favorite is basil. Okay, let's just use basil. So again, this principle works for any seed start, no matter what size cup or whatever. Your seed starting medium should be seed starting mix, not potting mix, not anything like that. The reason is seed start mix, and this is already damp, but I mean, look, it's very fine and crumbly. There's no rocks, you know, tree bark, stuff like that. Doesn't look like it has a bunch of mulch in it. There's no nutrients in it on purpose because a seed has all it needs to grow. Its nutrients is God-given in that seed, right? Like nature put that in there. So when a seed germinates, if you have all kinds of like fertilizer and all that stuff in your mix and those little baby brand new roots go hit that, it's going to probably hurt it. It could kill it, could burn it up. Think of it this way. You wouldn't give birth to your baby and immediately give it Frank's hot sauce, right? In its bottle. Like, we don't do that. We work them up to that stuff, just to put it in perspective for you. So, seed starting mix, period, please. And if you're going to seed start indoors ahead of the season to get a jump on the season or grow you some kitchen herbs, I highly recommend sterilizing it even beyond what comes out the bag. The reason being, most of your seed start mixes, the main ingredient is sphagnum. I'm sure I said that wrong. Sphagnum, peat moss, basically is what it is. It's peat moss. Fungus gnats, which are completely harmless to us. They're teeny itsy bitsy little gnats. They're so annoying. They love to lay eggs in peat moss. Not a deal breaker if you're doing your seeds outside, but the way to get rid of them is, what I do is take, do you need to come over here? Okay. I use just a kitchen pot, like a stock pot, and I put my bag of mix, usually like one of your $5, like from Tractor Supply or Walmart, seed starting mix bags. Usually one bag, I think, will fit in one of these pots about this size. Get you some boiling water, boil water, pour it in there. Like, it don't have to be 1-to-1 ratio because you don't want to just like devastate your pot mix. So get it in there, the boiling water, pour it in here, spoon, whatever. You don't want to put your hand in there because it's boiling water, and stir it up. And then put foil or a lid, if your pot has a lid, put a lid on it and forget about it until it goes back to room temperature. It could be today, tomorrow, whatever you get back to it. So that's kind of a think ahead thing. And the reason you do that is it kills any fungus gnats that are in there, and also it kills the eggs. I've tried it both ways, on accident and on purpose. The first time was on accident. I didn't know any better. And I'm like, where are these gnats? And they're not like regular house gnats. They're itty bitty. And they don't come out like into your house. They're only around your plants. The reason they're a problem is because their life cycle is like crazy, constant. I think they repopulate, don't quote me on this because I'm sure I'll be wrong, like every 3 days or so they lay eggs. But they feed on the roots of your plants, so on your seedling. So you could have a perfect, picture perfect, beautiful little seedling, and all of a sudden it dies over and you've done everything by the book. It's probably because fungus gnats were in there and their kids ate your plant roots. So that's where that's coming from. Now still, of course, everything's not 100%. If you still get a little gnat in there and he has babies, she has babies, this is your best friend. Regular old peroxide. So let's say you did everything right, you start noticing the little gnats. You can mix, I think I've seen different ratios of like a 1 part peroxide to 3 parts water. And you can water the plant, get it in your soil. It doesn't hurt your plant at all. But the crackling and popping of the peroxide, it's like pop rocks to the gnat eggs. So you can actually hear your peroxide fizzing and popping. And I even did a little experiment here on some plants because I had extra and it wouldn't have been detrimental to kill my plants by accident. But I had some, I think it was, lettuce going. And I was just in a hurry and I just grabbed the peroxide, straight up peroxide, and kind of watered across my plants with it into the soil around the plants. And the gnat like went away. So I've even tried it not diluting it. So either way has worked. But that's just a little tip for you. But definitely do the boiling water thing. It's worth your time not to lose your plants over it. Or if anything else, just the aggravation of the little things over there bothering your plants. Okay. Now, these little trays that you can get and buy, these came from Dollar General. I got them on, I like to get them on clearance at the end of the season because these were like $1 or 70 cents. It's 36 cells in here, so it's 6 of 6. Okay, so it's 6 different cups with 6 cells in there. And of course they're removable. You can see the depth of it there, the size, and you've got your tray at the bottom. That way you can try to kind of keep from overwatering, because some people have a problem with a happy medium. I know I can sometimes too, of too much water, too little water. But if you accidentally overwater, that's your reservoir where it can go in there. Now, once your plants get bigger, your seedlings start getting up bigger, it's actually the best idea to water from the bottom. So you can just pull your cup up, pour your water in there, give it about 10 or 15 minutes. And if it's any water still standing in the bottom, just pour it out. That way you don't get root rot in your seeds and they're too long. You don't have to have stuff like this. You can use sour cream cups. You can use like the silver baking trays. I thought I had one over here. I do not. Silver baking trays, and stack one on top of the other. That way you've got your reservoir. Poke holes in the second one. Put your dirt in there and set that one in there. It doesn't have to be picture perfect. Another thing people do is they call it winter sowing. You can Google this or look it up on YouTube. This is where, and I've already put this one together just so you can see it, a milk jug. You can use any type of plastic jug. The opaque ones work the best, so I think that's why the milk jugs. But any of your juice or water containers. But you can see where it's cut. I gave it a little room. I gave myself a tab on my tape. I started about here and came around my jug all the way around to here. Let me undo him. And what you end up with, I'll make new tape. This one doesn't have any seeds in it. I did it just to show you. But now you got your Pac-Man, right? But you can see, and it's not perfect by any means, but you cut it so it has a flap, just so you have several inches in there of your damp potting mix. You would put your little seeds in there. Spacing is not too terribly important. Give it a couple inches, an inch, because eventually you're going to bring it out of this anyway. This is just a baby greenhouse. But you put your seeds in there. There's 5 holes I poked in the bottom down there for drainage. You still got to have drainage. You close your Pac-Man up. packing tape is the best, because if you're going to sit this outside, like something like regular masking tape could come apart. Tape around. Take your lid off. Leave your lid off, your red cap, blue cap, white cap, whatever. Because you want it to be able to rain some in here, or some warmth escape, so you don't fry your seedlings. But this becomes a baby greenhouse. And I won't go into complete detail on that, but you can look it up. It's called winter sowing, or milk jug sowing. And it's a good way where now you don't have to harden off your seedlings, because you don't just take brand new seedlings, even if it was April or May in time to put your new plants outside. I can't take them from this environment in here and go slap them out in the garden. They have to get used to the sunlight. I know that's a lot of extra random information. This is a general, this is just a quick overview of seed starting. So, the consistency should be like moist brownie mix, is what this should look like. And what I mean by that is, I'm going to get me a handful. Can't be afraid to get dirty when you're planting seeds. Get your handful. So here's my seed start mix, and if I squeeze it, see, there's no water coming out of that. It's moist, it'll hold together, but it still will break back apart. So it's just moist. It's just past damp into moist, if that's a thing. Is that a thing, Michael? Damp into moist. There's a difference between damp and moist. Moist is like one step above damp.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's basically what I've heard it said by other people that's a lot more successful than me. They said it's like moist brownie mix, and that's exactly what it should look like. So again, seed starting mix. That way you don't have all those chunks and pieces. Will you still have little pieces in there? Yeah. I just pull them out. You don't want your little baby roots running into obstacles. So, you know what? That's my compost for the night right there that goes in the thing. It goes to compost. So, when you put your seed start mix in here, push it down. You don't have to stand on it, right? Like, you don't have to put your whole body weight in there. But just kind of tamp it down. It gets the air pockets out. Because another thing, roots will air prune themselves. So if there's pockets in there and the roots are growing and they're like, oh, there's air, there's a lot of air, the roots will stop growing because they think that they need to. Like, air would be an obstacle to them. So you just kind of tamp it down, put your seed mix there. Your seed packets will tell you how deep. The rule of thumb is basically 1/4 to 1/2 inch, depending on the size of the seed. The exception to that is your little bitty seeds. Like, I'm going to go ahead and open this basil up. Let's just rip it. And this is I think it's called Genovese. But that's basically, this one and Mammoth are the two that I like to grow. I grow lots of basil because then I dehydrate it, put it in containers, and use it all year. So basil seeds look like fleas. That's how little, actually smaller than a flea. I don't even know if I'm gonna be able to, yeah, there we go. So they're itty bitty bitty. You don't want to take something like bigger seeds. I'll take like a paintbrush end or something and poke one little hole like 1/4 inch. You don't really want to do that for your itty bitties like this. So what I do is just, see, if I had a better setup, but literally you're just 1 or 2 seeds per. Rule of thumb, most people put at least 2 seeds per, because usually it's not 100% germination rate. So you just put 1 or 2 seeds. If 3 or 4 fall in there, so be it. It's fine. It's not a deal breaker. And then I will go back with a little more seed mix. So I've put that across however many cells that I'm doing of the basil, and then I take more of my little seed mix and I barely sprinkle it across. You, like I said, you don't want to take one of those itty bitty little bitty seeds and shove it down a thumb's length, because it's never going to make it to the surface. That little thing is doing all it can do to break the surface once it germinates. The next thing you want to do is, if you have bought one of these, some of them come with humidity domes, that plastic dome piece, and you put on the top. If these particularly didn't, they were cheaper and that's fine. I take plastic wrap and put across. Don't forget to label your seeds. Sharpie and masking tape are my favorite. I put the date I started it and what it is. And like in something like this, you know, I might have different things in different sales. This row might be basil. This row might be thyme. This row might be oregano. Just put on there what it was with your tape. That's also, I use these things. If you take care of them and don't stand on them and destroy them, I've used some of these things for like 3 years in a row. They'll start coming apart a little bit, but who cares? They still work. That way I can just pull the tape off and reuse it. Same thing with your milk jug. You want to label it. I would probably go ahead and just write on my milk jug. I don't think that's going to stand up too much over time. It might, but I wouldn't have high hopes. You can do the tape on those or just write on the jug, whatever you want to do. Now, the next thing would be once they germinate, they immediately need light. There's 2 ways to go about that. I highly, highly recommend grow lights. I have grow lights that we have had many successful plants grown under that I have paid $20 for and $15 for. Do they have the ones that cost hundreds and thousands? Yeah, but they grow in something more in basil, okay? Like, they got a lot more invested in that than ingredients for their tomato sauce. So, for me, I have found your full spectrum lights, like on Amazon. They come in little square ones, or you can get, I've got the square ones. I've got the long tube ones. I think that was a gnat. I need to throw peroxide on him. My favorite that I have found are LED. They're LED ones, so they don't run your light bill. You don't even have to worry about it. Like, you don't even notice. But they're the shop lights, like you can get at Walmart or Lowe's, but they have to be the daylight one. Be sure on the package, your grow light or shop light is LED daylight. And what is it, a 5,000 or the 6,500 lumen?
Yeah.
That's what it'll say on there. The more lumens, the better. And basically, for us at home, just growing some basil or tomatoes, what that equates to is that just tells me quickly, I don't have to have that light sitting on the top. That means I can have it a little further away. The farther a light source is away from a plant, that plant's going to try to go to it. That's where you'll find the word leggy. And that's where your little plant will get too tall too fast and fall over and die because it's trying to get to the sunlight or trying to get to a light bulb. So if you get the one little single tube ones that are just like the small, like one tube things, I think those came from Amazon. I run 2 per shelf. So there's coverage of that flow of light. I can have it far enough away, but the coverage of light actually goes across the whole tray. Because if I have it right here dead center, these plants here or these plants back here are going to grow leggy trying to come to the medium in the middle. So your middle plants will probably be perfectly fine. The outside ones are going to just stretch trying to come up to it. Have I grown windowsill ones before? Yes. But I feel like for $20, go to Walmart. Get you about a 5,000, at least 5,000 lumen shop light with LED. Again, do the LED and it has to be daylight. Hang it on a shelf and go for it. You can grow so many things like that. The other part of that I got sidetracked on, imagine that, was when to turn that light on. Some people wait till the plant breaks the surface before they turn that shop light or that grow light on. I have found that's Russian roulette. Especially with stuff like your brassicas, like broccolis, cabbages, stuff like that. Those little bad boys are so tiny, when they break the surface, you might not notice it. I've literally gone into my office for work in the morning, come out on like a couple hours later for break or lunch, and they've already broke the surface and started falling over because they germinated that quick and went looking for light. Now my racks inside are at a window with lights hanging above it, but my lights weren't on. I've now started, if tonight when I put these trays underneath those lights, the lights come on, they will stay on. They will stay on, period, until I get most of my seeds up. I will take the plastic wrap off or take that dome off. And that's when I do use timers. You can get timers for like $5. And make sure that your seeds are getting the amount of sunlight, like 8 to 10 hours a day. And your light will automatically turn off by itself. But bottom line, when I'm seed starting, my lights are running 24/7. Not on a timer. They're just on 24/7 on top of those plants until most everything in that tray has broke the surface. As long as you see moisture in there, you don't take the top off, you don't water it, and I think you'll be fine. A lot of the things we've learned over the past few years, really going a lot heavier into this, is research. There's YouTube channels, there's Google. The best that we have found is trial and error. If you're using people on YouTube, that's why I tell you I'm in zone 7A Virginia, because you can also be 7A in a different state. Or I have somebody that is a real favorite of mine I like to watch on YouTube, but they're like a zone 10 over in California. So their growing season is completely different from mine. Little baby man's waking up for his bottle. The baby goat is going to holler now. He hears me talking for his night bottle. But I think that's pretty much it as far as just your basic seed starting. Tonight, like I said, I'm doing these few. I'm going to do some onions, some bunching onions. I've yet to have good success with those, and I ain't ready to give up yet. I think this will be my third year trying to grow them myself and not buy them from somewhere else. But just, you're going to have failures. You're going to get mad. A pack of seeds is $3 or $4. Your seed starting mix, please, seed starting mix, not potting soil, seed starting mix. You're going to put the boiling water on it. You're going to let it go to room temperature. It's going to be like brownie mix. Sprinkle your seeds in there. Cover them up. Cover it with the dome or plastic wrap. Put it under a light source. And wait. I think that is pretty much the basics. This year I am going to do some of the more the jug stuff and see how that goes. I'm going to do more little mini greenhouses. Different things like that. But that's your basic, really fast, unprepared, unorganized introduction to seed starting.